Our proper seasonal banner for January is once again desert themed. This year we're celebrating Elif's Nabata Desert region from Binding and Blazing Blade. Hailing from the desert area of the Tellius games, Tormod will make his Fey debut. We also have Juno, Altina, and a harmonic pair of Igrene and Louise. We'll talk about everyone's stats and skills, plus discuss some general playstyle and build ideas. The 4-star focus for the banner is Tormod. You can get him at 4-star and 5-star rarity. Tormod is one of the younger Tellius characters who does some growing up in between games. This is Radiant Dawn Tormod for the purpose of game title mechanics. As a unit, Tormod's a red infantry mage. For stats, he has 40 HP, 43 attack, 45 speed, 25 defense, and 30 res. Attack super boon is nifty, and overall just a solid fast made stat spread. Not a lot of faster red infantry mages. Tormod would be 3rd fastest overall, and for non-5 stars, he has the best offensive spread. For old skills, Tormod has Draconic Aura, Speed and Res Gap 3, and the rarer Speed and Res Tempo 3. This Tempo variant is only on Monica, and with Tempo 4 probably happening at some point, Tormod might be coming in handy in future inheriting. Tormod's inheritable red tome is actually pretty impressive. Nabata Beacon Plus has a sick Fire Tornado animation and is a 12 might tome. At start of turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant the unit cannot be slowed by terrain status and the desperation status to the user for 1 turn. If initiating or within 2 spaces of an ally, grant +4 all stats and deal true damage on hit equal to 10% of unit's attack. Nabata Beacon Plus is what I would call an actually decent inheritable in a world with arcanes. The desperation status works at any HP threshold, which opens up some build combos, and it's just a solid effect for the generally squishier but faster mages. +4 stats and extra true damage just makes for a decent baseline offensive weapon. Like last year, we also have the status to ignore terrain that causes extra movement. Infantry can move through forest tiles, and cavaliers will ignore trenches. However, this status also counteracts the movement penalty from the Divine Vein Flame tiles. You'll still take damage though. For general playstyle, Nabata Beacon Plus enables Desperation 2 taps, assuming Tormod outspeeds. He gains extra stats and a little bit of true damage based on attack. For this weapon, you can simply add more attack and speed, and hopefully you get the KO in 2 hits. Attack and speed ideal or Swiss Sparrow would be fine. To make use of no guard from tempo, you can add Flashing Blade, and this will proc Glimmer or Moonbow on your second hit. For premium upgrades, Flash Sparrow or Pledge can be used, and ideally we want no follow-up. You can use the Sacred Seal or the Tier 4 B skill for that 50% DR piercing. However, if you grab the recent Infantry No Follow 4, Tormod can get no follow-up and warping, plus he can help up others on his team, maybe a certain fast Fallen Pharaoh Beast. This can let you keep up tempo. Unfortunately, there is no Speed and Res Tempo 4, and we don't know when that will be introduced. The DR piercing would be amazing if you can just go to that straight upgrade. Now, if you can get no follow-up in some way, the C slot can also be used for Time's Pulse. This lets you forgo Flash Sparrow, or you can try 3 cooldown specials like Luna. If you aren't into cooldown effects, other B skills can be Low Speed and Res, or the spicy Occultist's Strike. In terms of regular inheriting, I would say Nabata Beacon is the most interesting at the moment. Arcane Eclipse enables a simple nuking playstyle, but the build is pretty much just a copy of Rearmed Ophelia's kit, and any red mage can run it. You pre-charge 3 cooldown specials, and then you have Special Sparrow 4 for full 100% DR piercing. However, this setup is countered by Scowl, which can be an issue. If you want to double and still proc a special, it might be better to just go with the partial DR piercing B skills and try to grab some damage reduction. For example, with Eclipse, you could run Tempo 4, swap to Remote Sparrow, and maybe even Fleeting Echo. Sling helps reduce the need for cooldowns, so while Time's Pulse can be used, it could also be a spot for Oath 4, Menace, or Infantry No Follow. Maybe you can get cute with some smoke debuffs. With the release of Arcane Thunder, there is hope for a red Arcane Tome that favors faster mages. For the moment though, Nabata Beacon is a pretty good option, although that's mostly due to Tormod being infantry. You got 3 slots for no follow-up in self-sufficient builds, and infantry cooldown skills fit with Desperation's 2-tap assault. It will require some premium skills, but Nabata Tormod has some fun build potential. Our next unit is Nabata Juno. This is Juno's 2nd season ult, but she still doesn't have a base form. This time Juno is a sword flyer with 38 HP, 43 attack, 46 speed, 35 defense, and 27 res. Speed super boon on top of great base speed and decent attack make for a fine offensive flyer. 35 defense is not bad for a Pegasus Knight, although Juno will still have slightly lowish base HP. For old skills, Juno has Luna and Guard Bearing 4. Previously it was only on Rearmed Ingrid, although still not that easy to get Guard Bearing 3 fodder if you wanted Arcane Lewin. Juno will provide an alternative route to that new Tier 4 upgrade. For her weapon, Juno has the Blade of Sands, 16 by Sidewick specials. Each turn, if Juno is within 2 spaces of allies, she grants plus 6 speed and res, the bonus doubler status, and the no panic status to Juno and those allies for 1 turn. When you initiate or you fight near an ally, Juno gets plus 5 to all stats, full no follow-up effects, and deals true damage on hit equal to 20% speed during combat. Blade of Sands is a simple hybrid support combat weapon. For Juno and her teammates, you can give speed and res field buffs, bonus doubler for those field buffs, and then no panic to preserve those buffs against, well, panic. Nice little assortment for any unit, and try to add attack and defense buffs to buff all 4 stats. Just watch out for Tina and deploy status, which will neutralize the bonus doubler status. In terms of combat, solid set of skills, no follow-up and speed-based true damage for the fast flyer, and slaying is nice for the lack of flyer cooldown options. This is basically Arcane Lewin, but replacing low speed and defense with some team buffs. While she hands out speed and res buffs, Juno will be a little selfish with attack and defense buffs because she has attack and defense Oath 4. At start of turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant plus 6 attack and defense field buffs and the basic warp status to unit for 1 turn. If unit is within 2 spaces of an ally when fighting, you get a bonus plus 3 attack and defense in combat. Oath 4 has been a very easy to use self-buffing option, and it provides the regular 2 range warping. For whatever reason, the devs just never gave us the attack and defense variant, even though our last Oath 4 came out over a year ago. Not sure why it took this long, but attack and defense Oath 3 is on a few free-to-play units, so getting the tier 4 is pretty easy. For general playstyle, Nabata Juno provides team utility through speed and res field buffs, that bonus doubler status, and no panic. Have fun with those prime 4 builds if you want. For Juno herself, she has attack and defense Oath 4 to gain full plus 6 field buffs for bonus doubler. She has warping, and Blade of Sands offers no follow-up to utilize Juno's good speed. Slaying and speed-based true damage is nice, and Guard Bearing 4 offers at least 30% DR at all times. If it's the first fight in enemy phase, this will be 60% instead. While Gambit can offer similar percent DR with true damage, it requires higher cooldown specials to be used. If you want to use Slaying Luna or 1 cooldown Slaying specials, then Guard Bearing is just fine. Juno comes with a very easy to use kit, you just need to start the turn near allies. If you wanted to add to Juno's support capabilities, there isn't anything super standout. You can do a basic rally attack and defense, but no roots for flyers. You can sacrifice combat for snag 4, but you will add debuffs plus sabotage on top of Juno's bonus doubler buffing. For self and team buffs, you can use joint hones, but they require adjacency. Tactics can have 2 range, but you need certain team comps. One way to support allies is with Rain or Hold debuffs. Those require positioning, but something like Rain Snap adds movement buffs to your mix. Technically, Deadly Miasma is similar. Juno can get debuffs with full low to help her stand advantages, then the Haze Tiles inflict the same penalties. For a basic tag team from the Heroic Realms, we have Arian, who offers attack and defense field buffs with the charge status for flyers. That could be fun. Going back to Juno's own combat, catch or clash skills are fine for stats. Flared or Surge Sparrow can be used for initiating. Add near trace Kanta if you want. Wind or Water Sweep can work with no follow-up. Assassin Strike adds more true damage. You can forgo defense though with aerial maneuvers, dive bomb, or just any kind of desperation type effects. Blade of Sands doesn't have HP conditions, so you can work with things like Fury and or Wings of Mercy Gale Force type teams. No Quarter is Juno's only DR piercing method for now. As usual, with flyers, feel free to add in any flyer mobility skills. Overall, Nabata Juno is okay, but not going to be a huge standout or anything. She does add some nice pure stat buffing for your team, easy to use for any allies, but there are also lots of ways to neutralize field buffs besides panic. Our third seasonal unit is Nabata Altina. For a character that never actually appears in her own game except for a voiced flashback, the devs sure love Altina. Kinda hard not to when the only official art of her depicted her on top of a giant lion Laguz dual wielding 2 giant great swords. Now, Altina shared her swordplay with Edelgard, so for her third form, she seems to have picked up dual-wielding axes. Blue ribbon for Ragno, gold ribbon for Alondite. The artwork from the banner trailer included blue and gold R effects, but that seems to have been changed. It did look a little weird for the base art, and it's still there for the special pose, so I think that's fine. Altina also does a 6-spin move when she triggers a special. I do love me some flashy 2D sprites. As a unit, Nabata Altina is an Axe infantry with 42 HP, 47 attack, 16 speed, 42 defense, and 46 res. Attack and defense super boons. This Altina is the most min-max version to date. Very high attack because she's still got brave attacks, no speed, good defense, and very high res. Among all axe users with Dragon Flowers invested, only 3 of them break 40 res. Young Hector was the highest, but Altina smashes that record. Her Harmonic ult got dethroned for one of the highest res sword units, so Altina's taking her revenge in the axe category. Now, for ult skills, Altina has Attack Damage Finish 4, which is a popular choice for her Winter ult. She also has Times Pulse 4. Instead of Twin Blades, Altina will get a new upgrade for her unique special. But first, Altina's new weapon is the Arcadian Axes. 11 might dual phase Brave Axes with distant counter, and now with excited specials. At start of combat, if unit has more than 25% HP, inflict attack and defense and res debuffs on the foe, and if that foe uses an offensive special and Altina has 5 or more res, inflict +1 cooldown on the foe before their first attack. For the attack, defense, and res debuffs, this has a base -5 with an extra 20% of Altina's res stat at start of combat. With 46 res, this will inflict -9 debuffs for a total -14 total. In the past, we joked Mythic Altina's Refined should just be -2 cooldown on specials since Ragnar and Alande both got Slaying. Well, half of that is still pretty good. In addition, Altina inflicts debuffs and now has Scowl. I could kinda understand the bonnets having Scowl cause Sothis is a dragon god and all that, but I don't think Altina's a dragon herself. The best reason I can see is that Arcadia is where dragons and humans coexist, so yeah. Realistically though, it's kinda foolish to think the Scowl effect is gonna be locked to dragons forever. That's not how power creep works. Instead of Twin Blades, Altina has upgraded to Arms of the Three. Unique 2 cooldown special that boosts damage by 40% res, it still pierces non-special % effects. At start of combat, if this special is ready and Altina has higher res than the foe, reduce damage from attacks and AoE specials by percentage equal difference between stats times 3. Max of 30% if you have 10 or more res. This is just Twin Blades, but with added unpierced with 30% Dragon Wall DR. The one catch is that Arms of the Three must be pre-charged going into battle, very similar to Vital Astra, and Altina needs to have higher res cause you know, that's how Dragon Wall works. For the pre-charge part, this is accomplished thanks to Slaying and Times Pulse 4 in the base kit. Arms of 3 will be on 1 cooldown. Times Pulse pre-charges and recharges it to 0 cooldown every single fight. Arms of the Three, I assume, is a nod to Ashira's Chosen, the 3 heroes from that amazing artwork I showed: Altina, the Dragon Laguz Deginsia, and the Lion Laguz Soen. I would love to see Mythic Deginsia and Soen one day. It would be kinda hilarious if this was like a teaser for a double Mythic banner for those two. Remember last January, we did get that random as hell for Mortis and Goto banner. Moving on, Altina's new inheritable B skill is Attack and Defense Bulwark 4. This is the first tier for Bulwark, and the only upgrade is that the skill now reduces damage from first attacks, with an S, by 40% during combat. As a refresher, Bulwark has the Super Obstruct effect. It blocks melee foes from moving through adjacent spaces to the unit. It also blocks ranged foes from moving through spaces within 2 spaces of the unit. In combat, inflict -4 attack and defense on the foe, and gain that new 40% DR. After combat, restore 7 HP to the user. The 40% damage reduction will work against brave attacks, and with that added effect, Bulwark 4 does kind of feel like a similar skill to Counter Roar. Almost the same % DR and after combat healing, but trading extra damage for the Super Obstruct. Dragons and Beasts can run Bulwark if you don't like Counter Roar. If you want to upgrade, the tier 3 is on our Lord and Savior, Mythic Asker, or New Year's Ash. In general, we didn't get that many Bulwark users, but that could change with the new damage reduction added on. Nabata Altina has a couple new tools which can change up her build from her Harmonic Winter ult, which is also infantry. For her general playstyle, Slaying plus Times Pulse will pre-charge Arms of the Three every single fight. If Altina has higher res, she gets unpierceable Dragon Wall type damage reduction, and you can stack this with the 40% DR from Bulwark 4. In combat, Altina does distant counter plus brave attacks. She inflicts lots of attack, defense debuffs, plus res debuffs will help for the res checks. One of those res checks are for scowls, so ideally Altina uncharges pre-charge specials. This can help her avoid DR piercing specials, and she should have enough bulk to survive a basic hit. Altina then counters back with her own DR piercing special. Finish Force extra damage and healing procs twice with brave attacks. If Altina is initiating, she can just proc Arms of the Three immediately, and it also will recharge every fight, again thanks to Times Pulse. One add-on for Altina can be no guard or any special charge effect to counter Scowl. Tempo 4 would be fun with extra DR piercing on the basic, but you do lose the new 40% DR from Bulwark 4. One thing this Altina lacks is Harmonic's ability to use No Seed Disrupt and Vanish. This is due to that harmonized skill. You can only use one or the other this time, although No Seed Disrupt 4 does have its own % DR, so you can replace Bulwark 4. If you have Veil, Double Scowl is a possible option that can stop the new Winter House leaders. For A skills, Finish 4 is very synergistic. If you want to replace it, maybe something like Firefly Boost for Guard or Attack and Raise Unity. For C skills, it's tough to replace Times Pulse. If you have a plan though, Infantry Pulse 4 could be fun, and like her dual ninja descendants, Ploy 4 would be amazing due to exposure. If anything, a Ploy 4 teammate like Dual Sanaki would be awesome, and Altina can make use of both defense and res debuffs. Other funny ideas are Brash 4 or Quicker Pulse for quads. If tanking isn't working, you can try to be more aggressive. Tempo 4 or Assassin Strike for pure initiation damage. With Slaying, this Altina has the easiest setup for Gale Force, just bring a cooldown skill. For the most part, Nabata Altina has brought in some tanking tools, but is that enough? Tough to say. Vantage is great, but it is going to be countered by Hardy Bearing or Sweep skills. If Altina fails her res checks, this means no Unpierceable DR and no Scowl. At the very least, if tanking isn't working for you, you could try to retool for player phase. Slaying and DR piercing skills can give Altina some nasty new options. Our last unit for today is Harmonic Nabata Igrene and Louise. Igrene was a kid during Blazing Blade, but since Louise and Pant were friends with Hawkeye, they got to meet the young girl. In one of Louise's supports with Hawkeye, she even buys a matching bow for Igrene, so this is a sweet reunion of two characters from two different time periods. As a unit, Harmonic Igrene will be a blue infantry archer this time. For stats, she has 40 HP, 46 attack, 46 speed, 24 defense, and 32 res. Speed super boon is nice, although Igrene would also like the extra flat attack. For ult skills, Igrene once again brings Blazing Wind. To keep it charged, she has Flash Sparrow and Speed of Defense Tempo 4, which both are amazing near offensive skills. For her weapon, Igrene has the Sandglass Bow. At start of turn 1, she gets -2 special cooldown. At start of every turn, if Igrene is within 2 spaces of an ally, she grants the unit cannot be slowed by terrain status and a +1 movement status to herself and infantry plus armor allies within 2 spaces. Oh my. Now for combat, Igrene has accelerated specials. If she initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant +6 attack and speed, deal true damage equal to 50% attack, including on AoEs, and when your special triggers, deal true damage equal to X% speed. X is equal to max special cooldown value times 10 with a bonus +10% added. Sandglass Bow is quite scary. Bonus movement not just for Igrene, but for any nearby infantry and armor allies. Igrene then charges up her Blazing Wind with Slaying and -2 cooldown immediately. When it activates, not only do you add 15% attack as bonus true damage, but also a massive 40% speed as well. These should use flat attack and speed for AoEs, but for other specials, it's going to use in-combat attack and speed stats. Without any buffing, Igrene should have 60 attack and 46 speed. This means on top of whatever damage Blazing Wind deals, you add another 15% of 60 plus 40% of 46. That is 9 and 18 respectively, so around 27 extra damage on all foes. Yikes. Similar to Harmonic Carla, Igrene is pure damage. Instead of DR piercing and neutralizing defensive specials, Igrene tries to go around these with AoE effect specials. I don't believe there are any DR piercing effects for AoE, but if the foe doesn't reduce AoE damage and has low defense stats, they're in huge trouble. For the Harmonized skill, Igrene and Louise grant the Resonance Blade status, the Treachery status, and the Desperation status to themselves and any allies from Binding or Blazing Blade. Simply put, it's just more damage. Igrene and team will need to bring their own field boss, but if you got a lot, then Treachery true damage is nasty. It also applies to AoE specials, so yeah, not great if you're on the receiving end. As for Desperation, strong status since it works at any HP. This is Igrene's only safety tool in her kit. She has no defensive perks or skills, so if the AoE plus basic attack doesn't kill, hopefully the Desperation 2-tap can do it. Otherwise, it's probably over. Unfortunately, Igrene does not have offense and a follow-up, so Desperation may not even work. Now, for Igrene's last skill, we have a new inheritable C skill called Pulse of Blades. At start of turn, grant attack and speed field balls equal to X. X is equal to the turn number times 2 with a max of +6 attack and speed by turn 3. For every turn, you also gain -1 cooldown. It's been long enough that Times Pulse 3 has a branching offshoot skill line. As such, this is an infantry only skill. Pulse Up is straight up better than Times Pulse 3. You do not need your special and max cooldown for it to work. You just get -1 cooldown guaranteed every turn. This is how Igrene gets her last cooldown charge needed for a pre-charge Blazing Wind. For units who do not just gain -2 cooldown instantly, if you can stall a couple turns, they can also pre-charge powerful specials like Blazing Wind. If you need a pre-charge special every fight, like Altina, then Times Pulse 4 is what you want. Same may apply for special spiral builds. However, Pulse Up is here for those that are patient and you only need that cooldown for 1 attack a turn. Harmonic Igrene and Louise have a complete base kit and a very simple game plan. On turn 1 they gain -3 cooldown, which will pre-charge the Sling Blazing Wind. Igrene then gets 3 movement plus is not slowed by terrain. When they use their special, add 15% attack and 40% speed as bonus true damage to all foes hit by the area effect. If you use their Harmonize skill, you also add Treachery true damage. With a weakened foe, Igrene's basic attack has 50% DR Pierce via Tempo 4, Flash Sparrow gives -2 cooldown, and no guard bypasses guard effects. If the foe is still standing, then Igrene is in trouble. Now, the Harmonize skill can add Desperation for a 2-tap, but she has no innate offense in a follow-up to guarantee it works. If Igrene survives and gets the KO though, a single basic attack only puts Blazing Wind on 1 cooldown. You need to wait for the next player phase for Pulse Up to give that -1 for the recharge. If you run into Pulse Tie effects, Time's Pulse can fail because Blazing Wind is on a max cooldown and Pulse Tie adds +2 to that count. With Pulse Up, Igrene will recharge in 2 turns, which can be important if you're able to stall turns. For max AoE damage, we generally use Life and Death, A slot, and Sacred Seal slot. You can do this if you only need 1 kill like on a defense team, but Flash Sparrow is needed if you want to recharge on the following turn and not use Special Spiral. You can use Special Spiral, but Tempo 4 gives that partial DR Pierce, which can clutch a close KO when Igrene basic attacks. Essentially, you can run the standard AoE setup, with Hardy Bearing included, but Igrene's base kit covers cooldown with self-buff potential and sacrifices some AoE damage for recharging. Instead of the same turn recharge, you can have 50% DR Pierce for your basic attack, which is pretty good. Considering Sandglass Bow can add 40% speed to the AoE, I think it's a fine trade-off. For other builds, you can do Deadeye or something like Luna, but AoE specials are bypassing in-combat % DR effects. However, some units have massive % DR versus AoE like Goto. You can't really do anything about it as far as I know. For example, Dual Winter Violet is weaker to area effect because Scowl doesn't affect it and you avoid Weaving Fighter. This should give Igrene a chance, but that's exactly why the Violets gain 80% DR for AoE on the Dual skill. I don't think any AoE user can push through 80% damage reduction, that's just too much. You can try to counter this with Tina's Thief Staff, but no guarantees, and not every DR effect for AoE specials is a status effect, such as Divine Vein Stone Terrain. Overall, Harmonic Igrene is a powerful attacker who is basically set up for AoE usage. The real strength of Igrene may not even be her damage. +1 movement for infantry and armor while ignoring terrain movement penalties is kind of crazy. Some people set up cavalry line defense teams in Aether Raids. Well, you can do the same with infantry who don't care about trees or trenches. She's gonna be kinda scary paired with multiple range infantry nukers. That will be it for this year's desert themed banner. The cannot be slowed by terrain status is back, and Igrene can create 3 movement infantry just for existing. Altina has some fun upgrades, Juno has some field buff support, and Tormod got a pretty dang good inheritable red tone. If you aren't summoning though, look forward to our Tempestraw's unit, Nabata Hawkeye, a second free-to-play lance infantry within a year, has literally never happened since launch. Unlike Sizo though, Hawkeye's bunkering down to be a full-on desert wall. Protecting her father, Harmonic Igrene is the Tempest boss with her full pre-charged AoE kit. It's gonna be real bad for your auto battle teams. Let me know your thoughts on this banner. I'm tempted to get Altina because she's so dang cool, but we'll see. We are getting another seasonal banner and Tempestrons at the start of February, so if you need orbs, we're gonna get around 80 or so coming soon. Good luck on your summits, and we'll be back soon to talk about Hawkeye. Thank you for watching though, and see you in that next video.